There's a scale bearer charging at high speed through that point. I feel like if there's... Can you actually stop that from happening?
I feel like if there's one champion in the game, actually, that has the highest chance of getting through those death zones unharmed or for the better, it's probably actually going to be, you know, scale bearer. I mean, look at the champion selection as Slash, Anarchy, Sorlag. They've all been selected, and now for another time, it kind of looks like Nyx has somewhat been replaced a little bit by scale bearer, kind of like the, you know, old and busted, new hotness argument that we always see, where it's always one.
Every patch there is an old and busted, and then there is always a new hotness. And this time it's scale bearer, who is returning hotness, I think. Like we said, we saw him so many times early on in the game's competitive life during the Quake World Championship days, and we haven't seen him for a long time. But now, this weekend really has kind of put a stop to that. And here he is. We saw him a lot in Duel yesterday, and was definitely less successful in Duel overall. I think he had some moments of greatness, but definitely didn't seem to be like the defining thing of Duel. But in Sacrifice, he looks to be like a very crucial part of these new team compositions that we're seeing. And we have to remember this might not just be a general thing. This might just be the way South America like to play. Obviously, we have limited access to watching competitive South American Quake. So for all we know, Scale Bearer has been here for a while, and we just haven't seen it. But
there's always a possibility, yeah.
I think it's a bit more of a chance that he's just kind of, you know, really rising through the cracks, I should say, with that improved armor value and the fact that Sorlag's been toned down. And just generally, I think he fits in with the game well so far.
I just look at the team comps and you go, you know, you got Sorlag, pretty much Slash, Sorlag, Anarchy, and Scale Bearer. All four of those champions are very good actually running the Soul. But then you've actually got the increased defensive capabilities from Sorlag, Slash, and then Scale Bearer combined, because Scale Bearer is just natural health pool, being able to just sit on a point and be that nuisance for a long time, especially if he's particularly stacked. I think it's a team composition that just seems to work quite well for Sacrifice, and that's why we're continuing to see it work so well throughout the day, and we'll continue to see the effects of these champions in combination with one another. But here we go, map number 1, Lockbox, round 1 to boot. Let's go.
Well, it's the same composition regardless. We're going to see Scale Bearer win, guaranteed, but at the same time we'll also see him lose. But here we go. There's that interesting start. That 20-second first soul spawn can be very important. The plasma trail is popped to try and deny it, but oh, the suicide, passing it away immediately, but could be quite dangerous deciding to willingly suicide in that kind of situation when it really is important to get as many people as you can.
Oh, it's been dropped off. Netmasters have the early lead. And that was quite an exchange, but as you can clearly see, the fight is shifting towards power-up once more. So with that quad damage appearing, it's going to go back to that classic. If Netmasters can secure it now, which it looks like they may be unable to. I know Nast has it, but how long? He's getting a couple of really good rockets, so they will keep him in the fight temporarily, but he's still quite weak. Decides to pop his injection at this stage just to make himself healthy enough to siege the obelisk, which will be very important. Armor's going to help too. Oh, goodbye, Kix. And actually, speaking of which, Kix on the Scale Bearer. Kix is one of the players that we saw use the most Scale Bearer, I think, really. It was the first one we saw bring it to the table in Duel. But right now, it looks like Lighttech's going to suicide. Try pass up, yes. Oh, no, actually doesn't at all. Just stand still. Well, either way, it's been transitioned over. Netmasters continue their lead. And just sort of like pick up what you were saying, you know, Kix was one of our more impressive duelers yesterday. Unfortunately, didn't quite qualify, but he was near the further end of that bracket. So when you go up against someone in Sacrifice that's very good at dueling, even if they're not as good at playing as a team, when you get put in a 1v1 against that guy, it's still not something you particularly want to deal with. Indeed, but Netmasters already with a 40% lead, a couple of frags coming out, but holding on to it big time. Oh, wow. And dying in the same process, but stolen the soul away. This is going to be good for them, but still, 3 of Netmasters alive. They're going to have the people up and ready to try and deny this capture. The issue in those exchanges there where you both survive, I think they will definitely communicate that, all right, guys, one of them is...
Kix with a double. We got a choo-choo getting that double bull rush kill. It's a shame we didn't get to see that, but still, you know, I think you can kind of piece together what happened for that to be possible.
You can use your imagination. Just look at the kill feed as kind of obvious right there with that Scale Bearer full speed. He tries to go for it again, and he does actually pick it up. I mean, he's the only champion in the game that will be able to run full speed ahead into every single super nail and not care and kill you anyway.
He did get taken down quite low though, so it's going to be hard for him to keep pushing currently, but still has the soul at the very least. Oh, running out with a gauntlet. Rafał, there we go. There's that kind of confidence. Tries to run away unharmed, or sorry, tries to sneak by, but was already seen, so unable to really capture that safely. No Netmasters. It's still in their half of the map, but they haven't seemed to quite control it the same way. Looks like the power-up's going to be up in a second though. That's probably their point of contention. And it does go towards Netmasters on the Sorlag, no less. So that's going to be hard for them to get taken out. Oh, heavy armor gets stolen away. Oh, but Luke Nuken dies anyway.
Now, it did take them quite a while to drop off. I'm actually very surprised that M1ND didn't go for the drop-off location right there, because everyone had point over to the power-up, which we see time and time again when an entire team will decide to pile in towards the power-up. It pretty much means that if you've got the soul, you can just drop it off quite easily and then start getting a little bit of percentage while everyone else is distracted. He pretty much could have done that right there, but opted to keep a hold of it for a bit too long, and it really allowed Netmasters to extend this lead, keep the advantage on deck, and here we go. It's 64% versus nothing. This is looking very difficult for M1ND right now.
I mean, M1ND had the soul in transit for a while. They just couldn't get it anywhere near their own obelisk. I think a big part of it is just the power-up. Netmasters have controlled both of them so far, and we're kind of seeing the rewards for that. You know, they've been holding it the entire time. 3/4 of the round done already. Yep, in about a minute's time, this is likely to be a round done and dusted. But I mean, they've still got to do a little bit of work. You can see the piling in from M1ND, trying to go in one at a time a little bit right there, but they've won the fight. But it's not about the frags, it's about getting the soul, and unfortunately they were not able to drop that off. That's unfortunate. Well, the soul is at least off the obelisk from Netmasters, so I mean, but even this kind of thing, right? It looks like they're even having trouble passing the soul from player to player. It's really being difficult for them to get it anywhere near where they need it to be. Even when they hold it, they're wasting a few seconds here and there. And there we go, the acid just keeping them away. They can't run through it. But Iron decides to just say, no way, we're going anyway, but kicks immediately stopping him dead in his tracks.
He had to give it a go. He definitely had to give it a go. I mean, if you're going to die anyway, at least try and put as much distance as you can. Unfortunately, it wasn't really able to do a whole lot there. Netmasters just climbing and climbing. 10% left. They're going to win this first round very, very convincingly. And this being losers, I mean, if you get a good first round, the power-up spawns, but I feel like it's actually quite a big decision to pile into that power-up when they're so close. I mean, yes, they've got quad, but so what? They've just lost the round. They put all of their resources, every single one of them, went into the soul location. But I mean, that was it. They went in, and there was nothing to prevent the percentage from climbing up.
I think the important thing is that they were eventually able to control the power-up, but like you said, right, it's a little bit too little too late by the time it came around.
Way too late.
And it makes you wonder if even Netmasters cared about that power-up at the time, seeing they were so close to winning.
Well, it was quad damage as well, right? So even if you and your team are able to pretty much just get the frags, just because one of them is doing extra damage, if you win the fight, it's still totally possible. But here we go, the trading back and forth with 5 seconds left until that soul spawns. This has been a great result for M1ND. I think they won that exchange. Can they get the soul as their reward? Iron, covering massive speed, does get one frag on the board. They're being chased. Unfortunately, it goes down. I'm not sure. Kicks with a double kill. Is he able to get another one and drop the soul? They did all that work, and Netmasters, for a second time, decide to finish the job. And they've dropped it off towards that obelisk A. Kicks with that crucial double. I mean, that really was the catalyst that allowed that to begin.
Well, we'll have to wait if it starts the same level of momentum. That was a clean 100% that he got before, but can they do the same thing? You see the zoning on that nail. Very least, Luke Nukem able to hold it up, but look, 41 health is almost dead already. And there we go, there's the suicide.
But he passed it on to a
even weaker than he was.
Weak target. I mean, I'm not sure about that one. 6 health on an Anarchy. I mean, I do kind of question how much impact he's going to be able to make for that reason. He can't really afford to take any of those rockets, and Kicks telling him exactly why. Sit down, mate. I've got that quad damage shotgun with all my health. He's just going to clean house. A nice chunk of quad still left to go as well.
Yes, indeed. And while Netmasters still holding on to the soul, I mean, 30% to 0 currently because of this power-up. It seemed that M1ND, they had the right idea. They were able to control it, but they didn't quite pass it away the same way. I feel like M1ND, they know what they should be doing. It's just their execution as a team just really isn't on the same level as Netmasters right now.
Yeah, Netmasters just sort of just being that step ahead, I think. I think just right now they're a bit more on the ball. Their defense is better. Particularly just decision-making. You know, we just saw right there, it was a matter of the tactical suicide to pass on the quad to a target that was just as weak. I mean, that's not really the kind of play that you want to see at this stage in the tournament. You're just kind of just giving up heads right there. If you're both weak, just pile in, do the damage. You're essentially just making it so you can't possibly take that point. That's exactly why Kicks picked up that quad.
Looks like M1ND, they're coming in 1, maybe 2 at a time, and they are just swiftly being dealt with. Netmasters not looking at all challenged right now. And, I mean, they've got the same obelisk back-to-back. They have not really looked uncomfortable. And, you know, when you're not playing with any concern, because, you know, you have that kind of a lead, you're not exactly unlikely to make any mistakes. And even here, right M1ND, they have the right kind of idea. They just can't get through. But a nice double kill next to one rocket, looks like, from Alazen.
I think trickling in one at a time, it kind of shows signs of frustration. And frustration in tournament really can be a death sentence. Just sliding in there, just awareness, you know, if he's been able to get one frag, yes, but I'll just crouch side in there and take him out with the gauntlet. A nice little double there from Light Tech. And this defense has looked impossible to crack into. Here comes the power-up, but they find themselves in a similar situation. It's 11% until the map will be over. Now they're putting all of their resources into trying to get this power up, but I'm not sure if they're losing frags left, right, and center. The odds are against them no matter what.
But for a second time, Nasta's able to get hold of the quad damage, but hurts himself with a lot of quad damage, self-damage, thanks to that rocket launcher. And while they're trying to contest this obelisk, I'm not sure if they have what they can do to bring it back. And what looks like 2 single times of 100-0. That was complete destruction.
Netmasters just looked like simply put, they just look like a stronger team on that map. Now we've got Blood Covenant up next. I wonder if we're going to see very much of the same. They looked like there was pretty much at no point were they uncomfortable. And I'm fairly certain as well that was a Mind map pick. So losing that dominantly on your own map kind of sets up a potential downfall going into a map that you likely didn't select.
Well, the problem is there really wasn't a single point in that map where it wasn't in Netmasters' favor. You know, I know that's kind of sounds obvious considering it was both 100-0, but it just seemed even moments where Mind, like they had power up or they were holding onto the soul. Netmasters just, they didn't look phased. Like they just, even when they had control of the important objective, it didn't look like they still had control over the situation that was going on at the time. And Netmasters taking that very, very one-sided, going into Blood Covenant for our second map. We said before, Scalebearer, even before, you know, we used to see him. If there was one map we'd see Scalebearer on in Sacrifice, it was probably going to be Blood Covenant, thanks to a big thing being the fact that power-up is right near a teleporter exit. If Scalebearer flies through that teleporter at full speed, it's going to be very hard to prepare for that. You know, you can't see him coming. He just appears at a teleporter, and if he's charging, that's it. He's already flying. And if you have the time, like we know Kix has been playing enough Scalebearer, it's a fair assumption he's going to understand the timing on when to go for the bull rush. That's going to be something they're going to have to be very careful about.
What I am concerned about is, the sign of what could have been potential frustration where they kind of went in one at a time by the end of that map, and it just made the defense pretty much very, very easy for Netmasters, but at the same time, when you're given a momentum shift, you know, and the game turns into what could potentially be your favor, be it a power up, be it, you know, a group fight that went really well where you've just got more heads on the point, you've got the soul, being able to actually seize that moment and get something out of it, we pretty much didn't see that at all from Mind. Consistently when they had the power up, they actually had the power up multiple times, but they didn't really do anything with it. You know, they're in a situation where, right, we've got quad, and they would just do a couple of questionable plays, a little bit of errors, like even at the very end, that self-damage, which pretty much sealed the deal where Anarchy was going to be unable to do a single bit of difference.
But that's just one, though. It was the self-damage, it was, you know, the suicide and a Sorlag with about half health to give quad to an Anarchy that was way weaker than he was at the time. Like, they seems to be like, again, Mind have the right idea. It's just their execution of these higher tier strategies just isn't really on the same level as Netmasters right now. But we'll have to wait and see if they can continue to be this dominant. Obviously, this is going to be a big deal for Mind. They need to make sure they don't get... I mean, even if they get 1% in this entire match, this will mean they've got more percent than they did beforehand. So they just need to make sure that they don't get rolled over in the same way. Because if this first round is another 100-0, I don't think they're going to be able to really make any of this work.
If it's anything to go by from that first map, I think Mind are in a lot of trouble. But we've seen many, many comebacks pulled off before. I feel like when you're in this situation in losers where there's no other option, you know, you guys need to come online and you've got to play the best you've ever played. Sometimes a team can rise to the occasion. I think we're going to be moments away from finding that out. 30 seconds left on this warm-up. I think from what we saw, definitely Netmasters are the favourites. They've got Kix on their lineup. I mean, I saw as well, Elazon as well. Some names we saw in the later stages of yesterday's duel, and I feel like a lot of the teams we've seen so far that have the duelers on their team seem to be playing better today. It kind of seems to be quite a running theme where they've got a lot of players that are prepared for just playing tournament. You know, that they've got the experience behind them, and it's starting to show a little bit more.
We've also seen how important it can be. It took me a while to get there in the end. We've also seen how important it can be to have good duelers on your team, though, because just fundamentally, even though it is a team game and it's team objectives and it's a very different mode to duel, fundamentally, like, you still need to be able to win those 1v1s. You still need to be able to outgun your opponents in those settings, which happens all the time. So if you have the skill and the confidence of being a talented duel player, that can help you a lot in Sacrifice also.
Actually, both Scalebearers going down right before the soul spawn, so it's going to be back to basics. Sorlag and Slash just painting death all over the shop.
Netmasters able to get hold of the first obelisk immediately again. This is a bad look for Mind.
And they've got a bunch of frags too, which means that with 10 seconds left for this power-up, they have more than enough time to pile in their resources and fight for this power-up too, without getting a bunch of damage.
Oh wow, missed completely, but can only imagine that Mind probably tried to escape in that situation, but he came back through. And there we go, this might actually be the power-up. Yes, it's quad damage, and Nast again. Nast really has been that kind of go-to power-up secure of Mind at the moment. Unfortunately, he's going to go down here if he gets hit by even one of these nails, but able to dodge all of them. Still very weak though.
Sure. Oh, survives with the hair's length. Actually, no, he doesn't. It was in fact a slash that was right next to him, so you don't even see the death transition. But they were able to get on the point itself, but they just weren't able to get any mileage. And Kix, he's just going to drop that one off easily.
Oh, a lot of quad damage nails. Even though you're soul like that, it's still going to hurt.
I think they'd taken so much damage to actually pile in, even though they were able to take the soul. They didn't really have the resources available to make anything off that. And I think a big part of that actually came from the fact that I believe Kix, by the rocket launcher right before he went down, did manage to get a single gauntlet on mine, you know, on their soul carrier at the time. And that was more than enough damage that pretty much guaranteed they weren't able to push that. I think it was a very crucial moment, very early on.
Also, I think Kix might have traded out Bull Rush for Rocket Launcher at the same time. So that might have been an interesting trade going on there, but Netmasters already looking at a 50% lead over Mine 0. We might have another 100-0 on our hands if this continues. It looks like it'll be up for a while, yes.
But sometimes when you're on the obelisk right there, and there was two of them, and you're like, right, we're the only two on this obelisk. Let's get this soul. You have to ask yourself, hang on a minute, they're all alive. Why are we the only two? And before you even have time to think about it, you just get completely closed in by the entirety of Netmasters. They just seem to be aware all the time.
Also, look at where Netmasters are positioning themselves. They're watching the rocket, they're watching the rail, or at least right now they're contesting it, so they haven't quite been able to be as precise, but they were watching the rocket, the rail, the left, and the stairs below. They had all of the ways in covered by themselves, and just that kind of control over not letting Mind even get close to the obelisk, I think might be one of the reasons that we're looking at another potential 100-0, which, I mean, if this happens, Mind are going to be in a severe amount of trouble.
Protection goes in Netmasters' favor, and I think after they've taken so many frags, I don't really expect it to see anything less, to be honest. I don't know how they're going to fight for that. Just completely taken off guard. Iron goes down as well. 5% left in this first round. They're going to try and pile in full speed, but really, what can they really do? They've got a bunch of heads on there already. They had the protection. That was an easy win for them. They're looking unbelievably dominant, and that's pretty much 3 straight rounds. They look unchallenged. I think mine need to be a little bit more... Well, I'd definitely be concerned at this stage. It's match point for Netmasters.
Well, whatever they're currently doing is clearly not working. I think if they have any kind of against the wall decisions that they might not normally go for, now's the time to bring it out.
Either way, this start is going to be the game changer. You know, that you can't afford to lose too many people around that 15-second mark. If that soul gets dropped off one more time,
I mean,
if Netmasters get another drop, that's it.
Even if Mind can get the first soul and capture the first obelisk, that is
no.
still more than they've been able to do so far. But the problem is they're losing their entire team, and there's a trade-out. But that's a much better start, that quick double with the rocket, but from Kix, timing that bull rush again, getting the soul and a clean capture at the same time.
The problem is,
oh, and Kix, he's not dead still. He's just 3v1'd all of Mind. Kix is just unstoppable and has given them a huge lead already. What an advantage. And now Mind forced to back off again. The power-up going to be up in just a few seconds, but it looks like they are going to get this. Iron has it, and it's quad damage. Now, they need to use this quad. They need to use it well. They can't afford to throw this away.
Iron's taking a lot of health, and there's not much to go around. Oh no, actually, you know what? I'm not a fan that Iron was unable to collect that small health. That's going to waste a little bit of time right here.
Well, he has to be careful. If he runs in by himself, he is not going to make it.
Ooh,
but
nice.
That's a nice triple with the rocket launcher. One member left, but it is Kix. Kix might be low, but you know he's willing to fight. This is much better for Mine. There we go. All 4 of them here on the obelisk trying to get it back.
That'd do it. 200 damage. They're piling in. Now, they've had issues before. You know, they've been able to get the soul, but that's only half the battle. You still got to get it out towards your own obelisk. And to be honest, I feel like at any point have we actually seen Mind have the soul at their own obelisk? Is this going to be the first time we've seen it?
Might be the first time. And there we go, for the first time in the series, Mind able to get some percentage on the board. So at the very least, it's not going to be 400-0s.
But before we can even finish talking about it, the soul is already out of action. And it's back to the middle once more. Lucan with the pickup.
Yeah, that's much better for him. Still in the position to take it away. Oh, but he is getting chased. Going to die, and that's probably going to be another contested at least. The soul being taken away. Not quite. No, Mind able to hold onto it. Alazen now in here, but very low himself. We're going to die here, but Light Tech ready, waiting in the wings to pick it up himself. Plasma Trail used as well. The crouch slide. Look at the mobility being used here just to try and get through as fast as possible. It's going to be another capture. Netmasters building on this lead again, but good for Mind at least to be able to take it off. Unfortunately, they needed Quad to do it, but they were still able to get some percentage, which is a good start, if any.
But we just saw Iron, he pretty much just ran into that point face first. There was no follow-up. He pretty much went in by himself, and that guaranteed his death, putting him a man down. And being a man down this close to power-up spawning is going to be bad news. He'll respawn beforehand, but can take a little while to get going.
Luke Nukem throwing the soul up top, though.
Oh no! Luke Nukem just running into the plasma trail and walking back into the exact same plasma trail. Quite an interesting exchange there.
Well, the protection's gone to Netmasters, though. It is, in fact, Kix that has it, so that's going to be dangerous. But do Mind go and drop it off immediately, or do they try and wait out this power-up? It looks like they're not. Oh, no, actually looks like they dropped it. Did they? Is it in transit? Oh, no, the Soul Carrier did just die. We see Kix here waiting.
Alazen has it. Very weak, but there's no one near him, so I don't think his health matters too much.
I quite like
no
that,
one
though. Like,
challenge.
Kix went straight to Mind's Obelisk, just in case they tried to drop it off. Obviously, him having the protection meant he would very easily be able to take that back by himself, but the rest of his team trying to go for the guy that currently had it, kind of covering all those bases. Now Nast has the soul himself. This is a much better round for Mind. And again, Raphael was constantly getting caught with that gauntlet out. I think he's maybe feeling himself a little bit too much.
I mean, sometimes having it in that location can make sense because if you catch someone around a corner in those sort of like close range situations, they can't really challenge it. If it's going to be like Anarchy, he's probably going to be able to follow through and almost get guaranteed kill if he catches you off guard. But other than that, like you said, you know, at this stage, he may be feeling a little bit, maybe playing a little bit too loose.
Oh no, he didn't pick up the soul! Has to
dear.
waste it. At least Alazen is there ready to pick up the pieces, but
it's not all bad.
Unfortunate mistake.
There are less punishing scenarios for that to happen, I think. Look how many of them are here too.
Solo, a nice couple of kills coming through from Mind. 2 of them taken out. All but Kix is here, ready to stop. And there we go. After all that quick fight, Mind were able to actually come away stronger in that engagement. Oof, and Raphael gets the gauntlet kill this time, but very nearly dies a 3rd time.
I mean, he's sticking to his guns right there, isn't he?
Yes, indeed. I mean, might be stubbornness, but might be cockiness. Regardless, it worked in that situation. Iron able to steal it away. Netmasters still have a huge lead, but they're not able to quite easily just get bulks.
I feel like if Iron only has 2 HP in that scenario, I mean, he'll take anything he can get. Being able to trade that off 1 for 1 is going to be pretty much, I think, the best he's going to get in that scenario. Actually, Nas doing a little bit of self-damage, wasting some of that Mega.
Problem is, though, it's quad damage, and Netmasters have it.
Alazen with a nice little chunk of health. They've got the quad behind them. This is going to be a fight that will be difficult for them to win.
I'm kind of surprised that Raphael's not running around with a quad damage gauntlet, to be completely honest.
He's got an LG. He doesn't need it anymore.
Of course. Still a lot of damage coming through. Netmasters looking to build up 25%. That's all they need. Oh, nice shot, but he is stuck in the corner. But yes, he does die for it. But Luke Nukem gets the quad. Has enough left to get at least 1 frag. Will it be 2? Oh, not in range for it. Luke Nukem now very low.
The problem he finds, the problem he had right there was the second he was able to actually stay on the point, the quad ran out. So it's going to be 3 versus 1, a very difficult situation to recover from. Tries to drop, but this will, one more time, just be so difficult for them. 8% left.
8% left to go. Not too bad at all. Only a few at the moment to finish things off. 3 out of 4. And they can actually contest this in time. Raphael is just by himself. 2% left to go. Only 1.
I think that's it. I really think that's going to be game over, and it will indeed. Netmasters, in very, very dominant fashion, are able to move on in this losers bracket. I mean, I feel like personally, star performer there probably Kix from what I've seen. His ability to defend there and just stay alive for the longest time.
Galactic Warlord knows a thing or two about winning games at the time, but he will manage to do that for his team right now. I saw you look at the sky thinking, how does that work? Does that work?
I was trying to see how much that made sense. I kind of got it, but at the same time, kind of not. But continue. Kix was pretty good.
That was it. You know, Kix was able to have a really good game by himself. I mean, that 1v3 early on when he ran through the...
That was just foreshadowing, wasn't it, for the rest of the time?
I think so, but well played all around.
So I think they're going to be happy with that. Moving on and losers is always going to be vital for any team when they're this far behind in a tournament. But our next matchup being TKG versus Netmasters. TKG had a hard time, which kind of surprised a lot of us because they looked so dominant previously, and a lot of people said they were the team to beat. But we'll see how they play against Netmasters in our losers finals, which is up next. We're going to go for a